Good day, everybody, and welcome to Ted Davies Artistry. I'm excited today because this is the first episode, official episode of Feed the Beast. And we are going to be giving you a bite-size grouping of ways that you can take your story and build it into something great. So, with my help, John Celestri, we'll be back in 2 seconds.
How do you fill in this blank page? Join your hosts, Ted and John, in the quest to create conflicts, characters, storylines, all that is needed to feed the beast.
Hello, John. How are you?
How are you doing, Ted?
Well, I'm glad that we're here finally, huh?
Yes, we are.
People don't know me. My name's Ted Davies. I run this channel, but I also I'm an artist author, and I'm best known for my book Retrieve as well as Grim 101. And John, how do they know you?
Well, I'm John Celestri. I've been a classic 2D animator since early 70s, and for the most part, I'm known for animating the first appearance of Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special. So everything that you see about Boba Fett comes out of that little place.
That's right. And you are can consider you royalty here. Everybody that I'm affiliated with, especially with Star Wars, is you're the goods, as we say. So um we've got a really interesting thing that we're doing here. And I think it's good for creatives of what you're going to be bringing to the table. Literally, feeding the beast. We're going to be doing small little episodes of a practice, both of our practices, but mainly we're going to be working it off of the ash can that's going to be available. You'll find the link in the description. You can get a PDF there for purchase, and I think it's going to be a really, really good setup. Are you excited about it? I mean, I think that
Yeah. I'm excited because it gives a chance for people to look over my shoulder or your shoulder and see, okay, how do you get something from beginning to end?
Mhm.
And that's the hardest thing to do is to take a kernel of an idea and then develop it into
Mhm.
something that is actually satisfying to a reader.
Right. And if we can use the food analogy even
Mhm.
further, we're taking these ingredients to make cuisine versus making lunch. We're
Yeah.
trying to make it so that it's one step more, but we're going to
Mhm.
do it in a format that's easy. And it's
Right.
a way that it's a guideline versus the absolute way you have to do it. But it's going to
Yeah.
be from a perspective of both of ours of
Mhm.
how we learn. But we're going to go with the guideline of the ash can that you produce.
Right.
Would you like me to bring that up now and then we
Yes,
can
please.
discuss that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Awesome. All right.
Okay. So I think yeah, you can see it
Mm,
real well. Yep. There you go.
yeah.
Okay. And so with this, um, you'll note it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 post-it notes.
Hmm.
Now, what I do, my process is to jot down on a post-it note an idea, one basic idea, and then put it on an 8.5 by a 10, 11, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and just keep tacking them on. You know,
Hmm.
and these are just the beginnings. I didn't write them down in any particular order. That's the important thing. I was just writing down ideas.
To get them down out of the mind and
Yes.
on into the reality. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to develop anything yet out, but I didn't I wanted to know what was my beginning, what was the ending going to be like, which is the big thing. And
Hmm.
then you get a beginning idea, then sometimes you get a middle idea, and you sometimes you get something that's even developed a little bit more, and then you have a character. It could be either a plot point or a character point or some image that you want,
Hmm.
or they're all different ideas, but you haven't written anything. You've just put ideas together.
Very good. And you said that they don't have to be in any certain order. And that's
No.
the way I do too. I have a beginning and an end, and then I maneuver
Mhm.
I do much the same way with the
Right.
with that. So with the I stick it Post-it notes because I think that's very important that you've got some type of plastic movement. You can move things around, and that's
Right.
very important, very very important.
Right. And I think that at this beginning part of it, I know how many pages approximately I want the story to be.
Mm,
And
mhm.
so you have to kind of start thinking, and I'm only talking about comic books at this point.
Correct, correct.
In comic books, um, you have a page that has to have, to me, has to have a beginning, middle, and end.
Hmm.
And every ending is leading to every last panel or so leads to the next page, which is the beginning, the panel, and to something. That way, you have this idea of going developing up and down and so on and so forth
Hmm.
because and that's and it's not just a matter of just stopping in the mid thought and then turning the page to complete the thought. No, there's a difference. It's completing a thought with the expectation of
Hmm.
what's going to happen
That
next.
anticipation of the
Hmm.
page. Yes, I agree. Yeah, that
Yes,
not necessarily cliffhanging, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
right.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so when you do it, like Ted,
Hmm.
when you're putting an idea like at this stage, is there anything different that you do in particular?
And I'll have probably if we say a comic book is around 20 some odd pages, I'll
Right.
try to do it. I don't necessarily do a cliffhanger, if you want to call it that, every page,
Hmm.
but I'll do something to where it's building up maybe every fourth page to
Hmm.
where it's like, oh, okay, now I want to turn that page.
Right.
Just so the real subtle, like watch the first step. It's a doozy, maybe, but
Yeah.
then every fourth page or so, I start really getting it to the point where it's you really wanna turn that page, but that's just me. That's
Right.
just my type of, guide my guide, but
Right. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Do you do it
Well,
every page? Are you set up that every page as well?
because of the visuals,
Mhm.
okay, and this is how I'm working it. Even if the visual is, I don't, I want the visual to entice you to turn the page.
Got it.
And that is the thing, you lead to the next. It doesn't have to be an explosion. It just could be like, the characters walking off
Right,
off the panel and you say,
right.
well, where are you going? What is that? What have you set up for the next one? And there's a lot of, I don't, and here's where we start. We could talk about, what's the word? Not deconstruction, compression and
Mhm.
decompressed storytelling.
Yes.
And I am more of the old school of just compress as much story as you can get,
Yeah.
but not to the point where you haven't developed an idea. I don't like skimming off,
Yeah.
and go ahead.
Well, I think that you lose your audience. In today's
Mhm.
world, we have a lot of very savvy, for the better term of it, savvy people that really want to have deep stories. And I
Right,
think that that's important. I think that you kind of cheat your audience a little bit when you and yourself as a writer when you do
right,
that, when you know what you're stating.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
just agreeing with you. Yeah.
yeah, and so that's why when I came up with, I started thinking, okay, on every page, what is it I'm trying to say? Now here's where we start developing a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
even when I'm jotting down the note, I'm thinking, okay, is there enough in this idea to for a page?
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought, or at
Got
least
it. Hmm.
it's what is your basic element in that page? Why is that page in existence?
Yeah.
And
Got it.
so that's where the idea is that, okay, I'm going to do that.
Very
So,
good. Very good.
all right, so this is how so I'm going to start. Let me roll this up, and you'll see that I have done basically a beginning. Oh, so I've numbered these here.
Hmm.
So this was a title idea. That's number one.
Got
what
it.
was, and the idea of the 1717 club with a drop, and it's the idea of good to the last drop. Now, that's an old thing of
Mhm.
Maxwell House coffee
Sure, remember
in
it very well.
okay, the New Yorkers, that
Mhm.
was the thing.
Yep.
But and the idea is this is a okay, so I'm coming in with the idea of the 1717 club is a place that where the local mobsters live, hang out, and that's
Mhm.
their headquarters. But they are also demons. They are vampire. They are whatever. It
Mhm.
is it is a cross between um, From Dusk Till Dawn and The Sopranos,
Okay.
and that is my first thought.
Yeah.
So I will go here, and so here we go with good to the last drop. This one here, the next page, and this is the order I started to put together after having various different ideas and whatnot. I
Mhm.
started shuffling them around, and this is the order that I thought would work. I would
Now,
have,
these, if I can interject, these are
yeah.
pages versus panels on the
Oh
page.
yes,
This
yeah. These are
okay.
pages, not panels.
Very good.
You know,
Very good. Mhm.
I'll do that. And I'm not going to read them out because we're going to
Mhm.
go over them,
Sure.
later on. But
Mhm.
just to give you just an idea of, just to see, what I'm writing down stuff. Even I won't you won't read that out there. That's a it's a,
Yeah.
but the idea is sometimes I'll put a little, even a thumbnail sketch
Yeah.
to
That's the
say,
way
give
that's
an
the way
air kiss, a chef kiss.
yep.
This is it is rough.
And
I'm
that's what I do too. I'm the
Yeah.
same way. We're
Mhm.
visual people. One of
Yes.
the things that I wanted to interject, if I could,
Yes.
it's important that it's not it's legible for you
Yes.
to read. It's
Yes.
to get the idea down and get it to the point where you're creating, and
Hmm.
it could, because stories come from that. You might be really surprised what you come up with. I didn't
Right.
mean to interrupt. So
No, no,
by
go
all means.
ahead. No, no, no. It's kind of like there's no what is it? What's the word? It's like Jack Kerouac wrote
Mm, yeah,
on butcher paper a stream
right.
of
Well, it's stream of consciousness, and that's
yes,
good. That's
yes.
exactly right. That's
And so no, there's no punctuation. You're not editing. You're just throwing ideas together.
right.
You know,
Hmm.
I'll do this here. I mean, once again, as I'm at right. You'll see in parentheses lies. Okay,
Hmm.
maybe this character is thinking about something, or maybe it's a really a demon in disguise. Like I said, he has a skin condition, has bumps on his heads. But that was my thought. I mean, I didn't
Right.
develop that yet. You know, and I said, okay, checking barrel behind the bar. We could do with another. What does that mean?
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
because he's a bartender, you know. Uh,
Got it.
then the Snake Eyes responds, and we cut to Cherry, who is going to entice a victim. But
Okay.
then we know what's happening. Victim is lured. All these various ideas, and unsuspected. Okay, hooker entices blood, drinks. Drinks are served during the game. What's playing cards?
Got it.
Again, images that aren't just um, things that he thinks that there's a lot of visual description of what is occurring, and that way I'm thinking visually instead of just writing down. He does this. He does.
Right.
There's a difference.
Right.
You
Well,
know.
and one thing you do too that I'm noticing, and that I do the same thing.
Right.
You're building world, but you're not obsessing world building. You're
No.
not to the. You're actually getting. You've got some development, but you're not lost, because I noticed that in a lot. You know that, where
Hmm.
you, and I know as writers, new
Right.
writers, you were lost in some of the world developing, so much so that you lose what you're trying to do. You're doing it just enough to get the idea down that you can go back and reference it, and
Hmm.
that's a big. big part of this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, I digress, but I appreciate that a lot because that's very, very important.
Okay, let's get back here. Now, here, Bloody Mary, body and barrel of blood, card game. I mean, they're
It's pretty vivid. Yeah.
they're pretty vivid, but and so okay, this gives me tone.
Mhm.
This helps set the stage. Like okay, so these were, but that might have been the one of the first ideas that I came up with because but then it was like good to the last drop. I mean,
Yeah,
I might
right.
have added
Yeah.
that. I don't know. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. That's what post-it notes are for.
Right.
And then it's kind of like, and then I've got these little barrels here, notations for A, B, and O. That's
Mhm.
blood,
Blood types.
blood types. We're getting low on type O barrel. Need to resupply.
Mhm.
you know, resupply a free body every Friday night. I
Yeah.
mean, you just those are the thoughts that come to mind, and so this is the first stage that I
Okay.
go through personally to be able to get my idea. So okay, what is the rough thing? And it's pretty, and it's rough, and it's raw, but I didn't think about um, censoring myself
Right.
other than
That's
to my own taste of what I think is necessary to get across a story, you
mhm.
know, and
Mhm.
that's what I did. I said, okay, here you go.
Well,
Uh,
and there's a difference between censoring and editing. I think
yes,
that when you get the idea down, go for it. Go for the gusto.
yeah,
It's like when you used to design homes for clients. Go
hmm
for if you want the gilded edges, whatever, go for it. But
hmm
then taper it back. Look at what you really need. In that, whether it's
right,
structure, building, or structure and story.
right,
This is very doable though. This is extremely easy, an easy step to do to get the blood flowing, pardon the pun,
right.
and get things rolling. I think
You're right.
absolutely dynamite.
This is like doodling.
It
I mean,
is.
you can't come up with, even if it's okay. I don't know how much of a reality, how original any of this is, because I just don't know. I mean, I didn't see this before. I took two, as I said, I took two ideas,
Mhm.
Sopranos,
Yeah.
and
Dusk till dawn. Yeah.
Dusk Till Dawn. But the thing about it is that I had already had a reference that I was working with, which is my neighborhood bar in
Mhm.
Brooklyn when I was growing up, and those were the gangsters were behind. You were that's what it was, the 1717 Club,
Yeah.
and that was a reference because they were across the street from my parents' religious gift shop.
Yeah. The irony of it all. Yeah.
The
That's
irony was is there, and so that's where that initial idea came from, is because I said, "Okay, how," I knew I had, as part of the world of a Bloodwing Angel,
mhm.
that's the neighborhood that Michael becomes part of and is brought into,
Yeah.
and
Well, and it's it. I mean, that's what I've told people,
yeah,
when they're asking about writing, how do you get the references? How do you use your surroundings as a base? We're here, our perception, our perspective is so important. It's
mhm,
so important.
yeah,
Whether you live next to a cemetery like I do,
mm,
hence
uh,
Crim 101,
okay,
science fiction's a little different. When I write science fiction, it's a complete, everything goes. But I think that with your stories of the neighborhood that you grew up in, that's great because I
yeah,
know a lot of people have grown up in neighborhoods like that, especially in New York. But
right. But the thing,
fantastic.
and
Yeah.
some of these neighborhoods no longer exist
Mhm.
in the way that it was. Everything
Yeah.
evolves.
Sure.
But the
Sure.
thing is that if you have lived long enough and done enough,
Mhm.
you have references to pull back. It's not so much as you write what you know. I don't know about a vampire's personal experience.
Right.
I've never, I mean, I only went into the 1717 club once or twice as a little kid. I peeked in and looked, I could see the stage and the
Mm,
bar and the images of the mobsters bringing their girlfriends on
mm.
Friday night there and then their wives on Saturday night. you
Wow.
know, that and they were all dressed to the nines, and
Sure.
everything was there. But that's a 1950s. So what I'm doing is I brought my personal experiences, and
Mhm,
everybody's got something.
mhm,
Everybody's got something to reference. That's the thing. If you're a writer, you will have observed. If you want to be a writer and you haven't, start observing. And I think that is the big and that's the referencing that I'm working with in terms of what are you putting down in your notes. You don't have to make up stuff
mhm.
whole cloth. You can do something from your past and then put it down into the post-it note. And then maybe that sparks an idea of fantasy, or you start connecting things,
Mhm.
other thought. Just do that as just as a writing exercise. And
I think,
that's
yeah. I think observing and then using a simple tool like we were saying, the Post-it note,
yeah,
and sky's the limit. You can
yeah,
do so many things, and that's why I really like the ash can for this reason,
yeah,
because it's a simple way that we can guide people, and they can take it as a, like I said, a cafeteria. They can
yeah,
take a
yeah.
piece, or take this piece, and then
Mhm.
move down the line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's how you put together your meal, you know?
Mhm,
I
and
mean,
absolutely.
and people keep thinking, "Ah, wow, what can you get on in 7 pages?" You can get a lot. It's a short story, and it's one of the hardest things to write
It
because it
is.
has to have a beginning, middle, and ending that and if you wanna continue that, you have to be able the ending has to make you want more. That's the thing, is that if your short story is kind of like, okay, that's the end, but what you want is your reader to want more stories from you, the author, which means you have to be you have to be you have to give them something that they will like, but
Mhm.
you also something that's unexpected, but yet satisfying, but yet not something that they've seen before, because otherwise they'll just say,
Yeah.
"I've seen that. I've seen that, done
Yeah,
that."
certain ingredients and certain layers, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about with good cuisine.
Yes.
Um,
Uh,
um, Continue. I don't wanna,
well, I'm thinking that right now, because of our time,
mhm,
we're at that point that um, I think if I started on the next one, it would start going over time, which is I
understand.
think that we could
And that's
do. Well,
important. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I think
important.
that's it because what we've spoken about right now is a lot to digest. You know,
Absolutely.
just by itself. Um,
But I
so
think, yeah, and I think that you're spot on with that. And I think that there's, the idea of the preserving and then going back maybe in some of the experiences that we've had,
mm,
using that, and this is if you're just starting.
yes.
If you've already got an idea for an idea for the story,
Mhm,
use the Post-it note format,
mhm,
regardless. But man, what a this is a wealthy page in a lot of respects. I think this
mhm.
is probably one of the best ways you can start anything that you're dealing with storytelling.
Yeah,
Um, this is your cave painting,
yeah.
and that's the truest form. I think it's just dynamic.
Mhm,
Um,
yeah.
cool. And what's going to be the next up? What are we going to be doing
Well,
next?
I'll
So
give you
that
for as a as an anticipation.
page turner.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're gonna go to on this next we are going to actually go and look at the various Post-it notes that I did for, on the first page. And I'll say, for example, here, the first story beats, and it's like,
hmm,
what's going on? I'll read it, but you can actually look at it and just say, and you note that the 1770 Club, I wrote something down here, that changes and whatnot. I may not have used that on the next page, but here, for example, I'll do that, and I've combining those 2 Post-it notes into the first page, and
Got
I'll
it.
show you that's the rough of the
So
page, So that's what we're gonna talk about on the
on
next
the
one,
awesome.
and I
And
think
that
that way we can then, uh, well, we've got 7 of those pages.
mhm,
We can then really, dig into that, into
development. Yeah. Mhm.
how did I develop those, Post-it notes into actual thumbnails, in actual rough
Got
pages.
it. Got it. And I know that, we do have very similar, it's funny that we are very similar when we do layout like that.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's just because of time and how we've done it over the years that that's a matter of fact thing.
Mhm.
And people that are writing, I'm sure that you guys can also comment on this, tell us what you guys are doing and see if it's similar to what John and I do. Because we would love to hear that from
Yeah.
anybody that's listening in or watching us on YouTube.
Yes,
Um,
give us send us, if you make comments and send,
mhm.
think about it, give comments, and if we and questions, and, we can answer those, at the beginning of the next show, if there are
Absolutely,
any. That way
absolutely.
we start building onto what your understanding
Mhm.
is, and, you might have some misunderstandings of what we're doing, or
Right,
just a comment. We'll just, read that so that there is an interaction, and this is not a class, but at the same time, we like to get the feedback to see
right, right,
what's how we're doing here.
and see what challenges you might have
Yeah.
on some of that thing that maybe if we can't answer in this episode, maybe in a later episode we can answer,
Mhm.
with the writing.
Right.
Man, I appreciate this,
Yeah.
John. I think it's a great first show,
Mhm.
and I'm looking forward to the next many, many,
Yes. Yeah.
um
There's a lot to go on. There's a lot to do.
absolutely. So,
Yeah.
okay, so we will see you, soon. We're gonna be doing this every week, and, we're gonna get this thing rocking and rolling, so, get writing, guys. Get writing. Thanks again, John. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later. Bye.